Alright, so for the next part, let's model the bracket. So let's jump into Maya because I think we have enough reference in here for the bracket. And if we want to get all the pieces back that we had last time, we go to Show, Isolate, Select, and just uncheck View Selected. That brings everything back. Here we have the start of our bracket. We have a couple holes we need to punch in for where the screws are going to go, and we're going to have to cut out, if you look in the front view here, we're going to have to cut out these pieces as well and maybe do a little more shaping. Okay, because we have perspective here, these back pieces look skinnier than what the front of the bracket is, but if we look in the side view here, you can see it's all the same size. Okay, so there's times we're going to have to trust the front view, and there's times we're going to want to trust the side view. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. So I'm going to isolate select on this bracket, just view selected, and I'm going to do the same thing in the front view, but I'm going to select the background image as well so that doesn't go away. Right, so now I can just kind of concentrate on this piece. We're going to first punch this hole right here. So I'm going to drop in some edge loops. So insert edge loop tool. We'll want one right in the center here. So that kind of makes that X that we talked about inside of lecture. I'm going to want one, I like putting one quite a bit above. And actually I'm going to put it in line with this because it kind of sets me up for cutting in for this piece. The bottom one doesn't necessarily though, so I'm just going to drop it maybe here so it's the same distance as the top, and then one here and one here. So what I want to do now is look at this from the top view, because if I were to smooth this right now, so if I hit the 3 key, let's go to object mode, you can see how there's kind of those somewhat like kinks in it. It might be hard to see those little bit of wavy lines. But that comes in because of those verts. So if I look at these verts right here, that I just plopped on each side, those edges, it's kind of forcing, let's go to one mode, it's forcing this to kind of stay squared off. So we could either take these right here and push them forward just a little bit so it helps to round it out, or we could push these back a little bit to keep that roundness. But we want to try to follow a cylinder as close as possible. Once you made your tweaks for that, and again, you guys should take more time than I'm doing as I'm finishing up these pieces. I'm just walking you through and showing you how to approach it, but definitely double check your proportions, check your shapes. I'm going to go to face mode. I'm going to select these 4 faces, and I like to extrude in first to get kind of, actually we want these 4 faces. I like to extrude in a little bit, and I call this like a buffer between shapes. So I already have an extrude before I go shift, right click, circularize components, and then I'm going to just use that twist. So if you're watching the kind of lecture videos I made up, you should pretty much know what you're doing here. So move that. I'm going to extrude this in one more time. Hit R. So by having kind of these edges stacked, it's going to make sure that inner kind of inner hole, and I can just hit delete here, is definitely going to be as close to a circle as possible when I hit the 3 key. Go to object mode, deselect it, And these little bumps and such, it's kind of the same thing I was talking about before. And we can see it happening in the top view the best. Like some of these verts don't follow that kind of cylinder shape. So let's figure out which one those are. I selected the wrong object there. Let's go to vertex. So right here, these guys should probably get pushed in a little bit. So I'm just trying to get these verts to kind of flow along that cylinder. If you need to put down a cylinder to kind of trace, that can help you out as well. Go back to object mode and hit 3. And you can see for the most part I kind of cleaned those up. We're seeing still some areas that you guys could do a little bit better than I'm doing here. And from the top you can see it's a bit more kind of squared off. So we could go into vertex. Maybe these guys need to get pulled forward a bit. The other thing you can try is a good thing about putting these buffers in is if I select these guys and I go to average vertices, and you can run the iterations as 1, and if you just keep hitting G, it'll do that a couple times. And then maybe I want to grab these guys and hit G once or twice. Let's click off it. And you can see that almost got rid of it all. I don't want to do the major interior ones because that shape I want to stay as a cylinder. So we saw how to punch a hole there, how to kind of clean it up. It's still kind of squared off, so I'm thinking this edge loop and this edge loop need to maybe get pushed back a bit along with this one. This one. So I'm going to select through. Back to object mode. It's a little bit better, but we would keep playing with that until it looked just right. Back here, this shape doesn't look right, so I'm going to select it, go to insert edge loop. I'm going to put one right here. I'm going to put one right here, put one right there, and one right there. Now I'm going to show you guys how to mirror this to get the other side. So we're just going to do everything on this side. I'm going to go to vertex mode and select just all these guys and push them this way until it matches the reference. Pushing this guy up. So we're kind of matching that silhouette right here, right? Now I would want to punch a hole in here for where that screw's going to go, and the screw goes right here. So let's kind of select. It's going to go between these faces right here. So I actually need to cut down the center of that. So let's select it in object mode. And I'm going to insert one edge loop here. I'm going to select these 4 faces. I'm going to scale them in, so I'm hitting R. Just scaling this down. And let's go ahead and shift right click, circularize components. Use your twist, so I'm over the word and I'm middle mousing. I'm going to the right to straighten that out. It looks like I'm going to have to scale that down a bit. Maybe move it down so it's in the center. And this is where I want it, kind of centered with that screw. And then we can see the width that screw is here. So if I go to show, isolate, select, view selected, it's going to show everything again. And I can see that hole I'm going to be making about the right size. Maybe we need it a bit more larger. So show, isolate, select. Select this in object mode. Or we could just hide this. Just the screw. That makes it easier. So I'm going to select these guys in face mode and scale this up a little bit. I'm going to extrude it one more time and delete it. And then that would be kind of ready. So if I hit the 3 key, and because this one's flat, it's not going to be as much of a problem as that front one. So this is looking good. I would mirror this over, excuse me, so we have the holes on both sides before we cut in for this piece, if we're looking in the front view, and this piece. So let's go ahead and mirror this. So I'm going to hit one mode. I'm going to go to faces. I'm going to delete half. Looks like I missed a couple. Let's go to the front view. I'm going to select the vertices down the center, so just those center verts, and scale them in. So just keep scaling. I hit R on the keyboard for that. I'm going to hold down, I'm going to hit W to bring up move. I'm going to hold down X and move it into X. Don't forget the cheat sheet in the bottom left. And I'm going to put that to the center origin. If you don't do this when you mirror it, there's going to be a gap there. So I'm going to select my object, shift right click, go to mirror, and I can go to my options, and I want to make sure it's mirrored in X. For if you've been following all the videos, it should be set to negative. Merge border vertices, and let's click mirror. And you can see some of these got merged together. You need to take this merge threshold and put in 0.001. And that should fix it. Yeah, I'm going to hit Q to exit out of that tool settings. And now we have the hole on this side, and you can see the holes on this side as well. That gray is that kind of bolt right here sitting through. Let's move that out a bit. So everything we did on one side is now transferred to the other, and now we just need to cut in those different shapes. So over here we're going to want to make sure we have some edge loops kind of lining up with that. So shift right click, insert edge loop. I want one right here. I want one right here. Because this is a curved shape, I'll need one in the center of that to kind of control that shape. And then we'll want an edge loop where we're cutting it, but I think we can use maybe these edges for that. So let's go to face mode, and let's delete these guys. And that's basically going to punch that hole in there. And let's move these 3 vertexes down. Let's move this one down and in a bit as well. Let's move this one inward. Let's move this one inward to match that shape. So we're getting the outline. Remember this foreshortening that's happening because of the camera perspective, so I'm not too worried about that. And let's look at what we might have to do to finish off this shape a bit. We'll definitely need some holding edges. So insert edge loop. If I put one, insert edge loop. If I put one right here, that's going to help me to kind of hold those corners. So now if I hit the 3 key, look at this in object mode, you can see that shape's being held a little bit better. Alright, and we need to cut this side in. And we should have, let's go to face mode. We should have what we need to delete out. I don't think that bracket goes all the way back. So let's look at the back view. So I need to jump to my Finder. So it comes back pretty far, right? So we want to make sure we're putting it right about there. So I'm going to actually cut my edge loop. Actually, this one might be just in the right spot or pretty close. For this, you can either bring in the back view, or definitely at a minimum, we're comparing these side by side. And yeah, that edge probably has to come a bit closer. So I'm going to insert edge loop, drop one maybe right there, and now I can delete these 4 faces. You can see how this rounds out. So I'm going to go to my vertex mode. I'm going to take these 2 verts and those up there and slide them this way. And as I do that, you can see that's going to help to kind of round those corners. I need to hold any shapes better. Let's go to one mode here. So do that. I can drop some more edge loops in here. You always want to look around and see if that, those additional edge loops caused errors anywhere else. So it didn't. I think I need to maybe move this vert up now. Grab these 2, kind of move them up. So you can see how you're going to have to, after you drop those loops, edit these shapes a little bit. So that's definitely not perfect. So my expectation would be is you guys play with that shape until it looks just right. But I'm going to move on to extruding this guy to kind of finish off the bracket. So once you got all 3 holes cut in, and then you got this piece cut out and this piece cut out, and your shapes matching, and again, I wouldn't slide this up. There's that foreshortening, so there's certain things that you'll get by looking at the reference, and when we look at your models later on, we'll kind of let you know what your judgment was on that. But if you select this in object mode and just extrude, I know I always have you hit R or W, but this time we're going to grab this blue handle, and we're just going to kind of extrude out for thickness. And if you hit 1, I want just about the same amount of thickness as we're seeing in the top reference, or we can't see in the top reference. So you might need to check a couple reference views. Maybe this side's a good one to judge, to kind of see how much thickness is there. So maybe just a tad more, right about there. I'm going to hit Q to exit out of the settings. And then if I were to hit the 3 key here, you can see the shapes are a little bit soft, right? So I'm going to hit 1, and we're going to want to kind of put in some more holding edges. So I'm just going to work through here. You could bevel instead of putting in these holding edges, so that's always an option as well. Alright. And I'm kind of moving around. I know where all the mushy spots kind of were. It's pretty much the holes and the outside edges. So I'm just going through and adding those. Let's hide this guy real quick. So object mode, Control H to hide, and we can get that last kind of edge loop. Insert edge loop. Go to object mode, hit 3 key, deselect. Just kind of move around. So I'm seeing a few errors, not errors, but areas that I'm getting some noise that I might want to clean up. I'm going to want to put an edge loop through here to kind of get sharper edges there and there. That looks pretty good. There we go. This shape should be obviously rounder, so you could play with how you move these vertices, because I'm seeing now this from the front looks skewed, but it should be kind of these perfect kind of cylinders. So definitely move that until you get it shaped correctly. And overall that's looking pretty decent, so I'm going to move on to the next part. You could spend a little bit more time cleaning it up though if you'd like.